Wednesday again, and this is the Wednesday weekly learning session for local bartending school. My name is Carlos Navi. I do this every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I've been a bartender for a couple decades now in 4 or 5 different states. I ran a bar in Mexico, which is where I met my wife, who lives with me here in San Luis Obispo, California. So I do one-on-ones, do this every week. And you might recognize me from some of the online videos if you've taken the online course. So try to come up with a little different topic and something to talk about each week. And last week I talked about Dram Shop Act, football player got in a DUI. I don't want to go too into it. It's a horrible, horrible story. But, the holidays are coming up. People are going to be out. They're going to be drinking. They're going to be seeing family. They're going to be with people. So I just want to make sure, everybody's being responsible. I think that's one of the biggest things. Tales of the Cocktail, which I talk about a lot, nonprofit organization. You can always go to talesofthecocktail.org and join with them. One of their biggest kind of new things is drink better, not more. You can have better liquors, better cocktails, not drink as much, still get a good feeling, still get a nice buzz without just, shooting cheap tequila or cheap beer or stuff like that with just the intention of getting drunk, getting hammered, and waking up the next day feeling horrible. So, drink better, not more. I think it's a great slogan and a great kind of motto to live by as we go into the future. It is, I think, probably the first time in a long time that the younger generation is not drinking as much as their predecessors, and consumption's kind of coming down. So, it is a trend towards low alcoholic, non-alcoholic stuff, not getting, hammered just to get hammered and just to get drunk to have a party. Even though I live next to a college, I know they still do it because I hear them, I see them, they're out and about. So we talked about Dram Shop Act, how to not get yourself in trouble by, over-serving someone, serving someone who's obviously visibly intoxicated. The other thing that can get you in trouble is serving someone that's not 21 and not IDing people properly. And I told a little story about that last week too, so I won't repeat that story. But, people are going to go out for the holidays. I know many people that have had fake IDs when they were 16, 17, went out with their parents. Their parents didn't have a problem with their drinking. There are a couple states that have some leniency as far as their laws. If you are out with a parent, you can be under 21 and still drink. It's kind of a little gray area in some states. And, the other thing I come across is a lot of foreigners when they're visiting here. The laws in their country say that an 18-year-old can drink, and they're very used to having a glass of wine with their 18, 19-year-old at dinner. They come to the United States, they really don't think anything of it, but, they have to obey by our rules when we go to their country. We should be, living by their laws and obeying their rules as well. So I just want to make sure that we're asking for IDs, we're IDing properly, and we're making sure that everybody's 21 who's drinking, so we don't get into any trouble with the law and, with sting operations and with the ABC, the Alcoholic Beverage. And they do sting operations. The people that do sting operations are police officers. So, know that. I realized that kind of the hard way in one situation, a place I used to work at in Palm Springs, California, in the desert. I was standing there with a buddy of mine who saw a guy drinking with a girl. He knew the girl was still in high school because he was a football coach at the high school. He pointed it out. We didn't think much of it, but a plainclothes guy came over, asked her for ID, kind of grabbed her by the arm, which he shouldn't have done because he did not say he was a cop. And all we saw was some random dude grab a girl and the girl run out of the building. So we stopped him and we're holding him up against the wall as he pulls out his badge and says he's ABC's a cop, and he had cops waiting and they busted her for drinking underage. I think the funny kind of part of that story is they kept sending the same guy back and we knew exactly what he looked like. So we had walkie-talkies, we had earpieces. When he'd come in the door, someone would just say, oh, the ABC guy just walked in the front door or the back door. So, we kind of knew where he is. So I don't know why they sent the same guy back so many times. But let's talk about IDing and the 5 points of the ID, the 5 things you should be looking for in the process. I did not invent it. I actually got this from tips, which I first took when I was 16. And in 31 years, I have not heard a better system to ask for IDs. First things first, let me throw this out there. Don't take anyone's word for it. You are the one serving the drink. You are going to be the one responsible for that drink. Don't take someone's word for it. When I moved to Florida, the first job I got, a kid sat at the bar. I asked him for his ID. The other bartender said, oh, that's our barback's roommate. He's fine. And I gave him a beer. And several months went by. My truck ended up breaking down. It was in the shop. My little brother came to give me a ride home. He was sitting at the bar waiting. That kid was sitting there with the Bud Light. He said, "Hey, you know that kid's not 21, right?" I said, "No, he's our barback's roommate. He's 21. He said, "No. I was at a party with that kid 2 weeks ago. He gets drunk, he runs his mouth. I guarantee you he's 19. So I went up and asked him for ID, and he kind of gave me a little attitude. I'm like, "You need to leave. You just need to go now." And he started giving me attitude. So I got the other bartender, who was technically my boss, said, "You know, he's not 21, right?" And just announced it. She starts screaming at the bar back. He still doesn't go. I'm like, "Dude, you need to leave. Like, do you not see your roommate's in trouble over this?" Finally, we get him up. He gets up and leaves. The point of the story is I served him the beer. I gave him the drink. If that kid walks out into the highway, gets hit by a car, I'm responsible for him because I'm the one that served it to him. I can't go, "But they told me." Nah, I'm responsible for it. And, a good manager should always have your back and back you up when you choose not to serve someone you don't want to accept their ID. In 20 plus years, I've only had one issue with one manager who tried to tell me, "No, he's fine, serve him. No, he's fine, serve him." And what I told him is, "No, I'm not going to serve him. If you want to come back here and serve him and be responsible for it, you do it, but I will not." And the manager walked away, went to the office, and he was kind of a jerk. He wasn't a very good manager. Anyway, so very rare, a manager should have your back. First things first, what can we accept? Every state issues a driver's license, kind of looks like this. They also issue an identification card, looks like a driver's license. You just can't drive with it because not everybody drives and they still need an ID. A passport from any country will work. That's perfectly valid. A military ID is also valid. People can use that. And what my wife uses, and I've heard some kind of push one way or the other on this, but it has all the points you need, is her green card, which is her United States issued identification as a resident alien of the United States. And it has all the information necessary on that. What we can't accept is a foreign driver's license. A couple of reasons, hard for us to tell if they're real or not. The other thing is it might not have all the information required to buy alcohol in the United States, so you can't take it. And my view on this is really simple. If you got into this country legally, you had a passport when you got into this country. And that's what you should be using as your identification in this country. And that's that. I used to live in Mexico. I had to carry my passport. Actually, we just photocopied one page of it. You didn't carry your real passport around Mexico. We kept them in a safe. And everybody just accepted the photocopy because that was pretty routine there. They're like, "Yeah, if we were you, we wouldn't carry it either." So, but still, that's what we had to use until we got basically our equivalent. It's called an FM3, our equivalent of a green card in Mexico. So those are the acceptable things. Someone comes up to the bar. Someone comes up to the bar. They want to order a drink. First of all, be nice about it. Don't be like the people that work at the pharmacy on the corner here by my house and just go, "Got ID." No, that's not the way to approach people. Yes, I'd be happy to get that drink for you. First, I just have to check your ID to make sure that you're 21. Really simple, really easy. So point number one, if they just whip out their ID in a holder in their wallet, you have to make them take it out. You have to hold it in your hand. That's the first thing, hold it in your hand. You want to feel it for any anomalies, for anything wrong with it. This one's bent. You might be able to see or not on camera. I fell asleep with it in my pocket on the couch after a couple beverages, and it folded in half. It's also, for some reason, and I know you can't see it on camera, but it's got a big bubble over the picture that I can feel and I can see. Those two things would make me very weary. I would never take this. A bubble on the picture, not a chance. Not a chance I would take this ID. Feel it, make sure it's good. It's funny, I was at the Ralph's grocery store here a couple weeks ago, saw a kid in front of me, had tons of groceries and just like a 12-pack of beer, and sure enough, she ID'd him. And I was watching, so I knew he wasn't 21 by something else he did. But the attendant, bless her heart, at the Ralph's, who's great, she looked at his ID and it took her a second just to go, it's not real, and handed it back to him. And I thought it was pretty funny. What I actually noticed, because I'm kind of on this, is when he opened his wallet, I could see his real driver's license in the little plastic thing showing, and it's straight up and down if you're under 21, it's sideways if you're over. So I could see his license. He reached into the back of his wallet. That's my first telltale that you're giving me a fake ID. You didn't pull out the thing in the screen in the front. You're reaching for something behind other cards. Come on. So I noticed that. Take it out, hold it in your hand, get a feel for it. The other thing is I can get a good feel for that person's mojo while I hold it. If that person's supposed to be there, they're going to be relaxed, they're going to be calm, they're going to be fine. If they start to get nervous, maybe they're not supposed to be there. The other one they'll do is sometimes people try to point, birthday's right there, birthday's right there. It's like, whoa, I can read. I know where the birthday is. If they're pointing at something, my first thought is that they're trying to distract me from something else on the license. I'm probably going to hold it even longer and scrutinize it even longer at that point. If I have a handful of young people, I will take all their IDs at the same time. Give them a little quick shuffle, go through it. Who is Lisa? Okay, let me see it. You're good. There you go. Who is, Jose? And go through it. Because I have seen instances where someone will show you their ID, go outside, give it to a younger sibling. Happened at a bar I worked at in Scottsdale. 4 girls came in. The other guy I was working with ID'd them. They went, sat down at a table, got some drinks. About 15 minutes later, 4 more girls walk in. He IDs them, takes the first ID, and goes, hey, yells at the other girl, come here, come back over here. She comes over. He's like, where's your IDs? She's like, I showed it to you. He goes, I know you did. I'm still holding it. She'd gone outside giving it to her little sister. But, he took a good look at it. He remembered it, and he was able to bust him on that. So hold it in your hand. That is the first thing. Second point, look at the picture. For the love of God. I can't tell you how many bouncers I've seen take an ID just like that, thumb over the picture, look at the birthday, hand it back. I live next to a college of 25,000 students, and at said Rite Aid pharmacy on the corner over here, I can't tell you how many times I've seen them ask for ID. The kid puts it up, they scan the barcode on the back and never look at the front. They don't even see if it's the person who's holding the ID. They just scan the back. Look at the picture, make sure it's them. Use your best judgment. Sometimes it can be hard. In Arizona, you get a driver's license at 16, and if you don't get a ticket, you don't have to renew it till you're 65. So I would ID people in their 40s, 50s, and the picture's a 16-year-old. Use your best judgment, make sure it's them. At that point, I'd usually make a stupid joke, like, oh, thank God you grew into that head, or something awful, just retarded. Move along conversation, make a joke. But look at the picture, make sure the picture looks like the person on there. Third thing, the physical description: height, weight, eye color, hair color. People can change their hair color. That's pretty easy. People can put in contacts to change their eye color. But if I look at your ID and it says you got brown eyes, and I look up and you have blue eyes, and I say, hey, your ID says you have brown eyes, the first words out of your mouth are going to be, I'm wearing contacts to change my eye color. It's not something you have to think about. You put contacts in. I don't know if anyone's worn contacts, but if you're just using them to change your eye color, there's a chance you're going to remember you put them in. You're not going to go, duh, or something silly like that. Place I used to work at in Scottsdale, people used to leave their IDs a lot. We used to have stacks of them. I will admit, because I'm not going back there anytime, I used to steal any of them that looked like my little brother, because he was 19. He used to get them taken away quite often. I can remember him getting one taken away in this specific scenario. We got different daddies. He's only this tall. I'm 6'4". He went to a bar. He gave the guy the ID. The guy looked at it, walked out from behind the bar, stood next to him and said, I'm 6 foot and you're not 6'1". And he's not. He's about 5'8". But he did his job. He didn't just look at the picture and pass by. He looked at the physical description, realized that's not the guy. This guy's a lot taller, and he took it away from him, and he got more and got them taken away too. So make sure it's them. Look at the physical description on there. Fourth thing, the expiration date. If it is expired, it is not valid. You cannot accept it. Whatever it is, it has to be valid. I've gotten to tons of arguments with 24, 25, 26-year-olds about this. But it still says that I'm 21. No, it doesn't say anything because it's not valid. It doesn't have valid information on it. And kind of my take on this one too is just this simply. If you're old enough and responsible enough to go out to a bar and drink, you're old enough and responsible enough to renew your ID on time. And if one's not true, maybe the other's not true either. So I used to get it all the time in Florida, and it would blow my mind too, because look, I know you didn't just on a whim throw some clothes into a backpack and jump in a car and drive to Florida from Missouri. No, you planned spring break for months. Ever since Christmas, you were probably planning spring break. Renew your ID. So it does have to be valid. This one expired in 2019. I cannot drive with this. I cannot fly with this. I cannot buy alcohol with this. I have this for one reason, because I teach this class and I go through this with students on one-on-one. It serves one purpose. It's my prop. Okay, it's not valid. So it does have to be valid. It cannot be expired. And the reason being, once again, siblings will give it to their younger siblings. When I was 19, that's how we got beer. We had friends that had older siblings, expired cards that looked just like them. And, back before it was this high tech, I'm going to date myself here. When I got my first driver's license, it was on paper. Okay. And at that time, the law in California was if you moved, you just wrote your new address in pencil on the back. Done. I've change of address accomplished. So, it's a lot different nowadays, a little harder to do it, but it can't be expired. You cannot take it if it's expired. Passport or whatever has to be valid. And the fifth and final thing, the birthday. Make sure that person is 21 years old. And we have an easy year for it. They have to be born 11/17/2000. Easy year to remember, when they have to be born. Please do look at the day and the month and not just the year. I did have one friend go into a bar 2 weeks before his birthday, show the bartender his ID and get served because he just kind of looked at the month and the year and thought who would be stupid enough to come in 2 weeks before his birthday. So it does happen. Yes, I am guilty of sneaking people into bars many times. My little brother, who said previously mentioned, on his 21st birthday, we went to a bar. We got there at 11:55. We stood out there and waited till midnight and went in. Okay, my friend gets ID'd. I get ID'd. My little brother gets ID'd. And then the bouncer gives him the dirtiest evil stink I have ever seen. And very, very slowly hands him back his ID. So we go to the bar, we order a drink. Me and my friend are like, what the hell was that about? He's like, oh my God, that guy was at a bouncer at another club about a week and a half ago. I walked right by him and waved. He never asked me for ID at the other place. He just realized he screwed up a week ago, but nothing he could do about it now. Does the evil. Oh, got me. So, make sure you're IDing. That's the point. There's some stuff you can ask if you're not sure it's the person on there. If you're good with astrological signs, that's one of the easiest. You know what someone's sign is. I know I'm a Pisces. If I see someone who's a Pisces, I'm going to say, oh, you're an Aries. And they should say, you're a Pisces. Had little brother once again get some taken away. One bar in Scottsdale, this doorman had an entire clipboard with a list of questions and the proper answers. We weren't getting by him. I think he asked him what year he graduated from high school and he blew that one. But I used to make him memorize the address, memorize the birthday, memorize the signs, memorize things like that. The other thing is you can always ask for another form of identification. And it doesn't have to be a legal one, but pretty much everybody today walks around with an ATM card or a debit card in their pocket. So you should have a debit card. You should have something else on you that has the exact same name as this ID has. I have dealt with one student in Iowa who was 19, said one of her friends not only had his older brother's ID, but a debit card with his older brother's name as well, that he would pull out. Well, I can show you my debit card too. So, you can always ask for something else just to make sure they got something else in their wallet or something else on them that says their name. The other kind of thing I want to talk about, and this is where it makes it really difficult, is it takes a picture with your iPhone and $100 to China to get a fake ID that looks just like this. And there are hundreds of thousands of them, if not more of them, out there. And they can be very, very tough to spot. I saw them first, my little brother's friends, about 15 years ago. And even back then, before the scanning barcodes, even these swipe codes would swipe properly. I know the barcodes on most of them. Actually, I caught a kid with one not too long ago. Her barcode wouldn't scan, and it was coming apart at the side. So I could tell it wasn't a real ID, couldn't accept that one. That was about 2 weeks ago. But, it does come up and it does happen. So kind of one of the biggest things on those, if we're talking about those, I know a lot of East Coast states are changing their IDs and they're starting to put a clear window with your picture in it in the corner. To the best of my knowledge, those have not been replicated by China yet. And it's just an attempt to, to put off the counterfeiters, to stop the counterfeiters that are putting those out there. The biggest thing that I found from looking at fake ones from different states and comparing it to mine is the hologram, or kind of the stamp in it. Usually has a hologram in there. If you put it on the black lights, you can see it. I can kind of see it when I turn it. On my ID, on my real ID here from California, if I look at it closely, I can read very, very clearly the Great Seal of the State of California. On a fake one just like this, it'll have the symbol, it'll have the seal of the state of California, but the words won't be legible. They're kind of blurry and unclear. It's really hard to read them. And it's one of the biggest telltales on there. Reason behind it, the stamps they use to make these, to make the IDs, are very hard to replicate. Replicating one of these stamps would be like trying to replicate plates they use to print money. It's not just something anyone can sit down and do. It's very difficult. It's got certain marks on it and certain things that are on there that are special. Same thing with the stamp, can't be easily replicated. So if you look and the words are not crystal clear on it, I guarantee you it is a fake. It is from China. It is not a real ID. I see Monty looking at his ID. Crystal clear words on it, right, Monty? Crystal clear, right? You can read it perfectly. Yes, if it's a little blurry, a little off, that's the biggest telltale sign of fake IDs from China, is the stamps aren't right. They aren't perfect. You can't read the words on them. So, be aware of that. Other kind of thing I'll talk about just a little on the same topic is, when you have to approach people or turn people down. Once again, I've had many a 25, 26-year-old just rip me and cuss me for not taking their expired ID. I've also had this happen because, I'm responsible for that drink once it leaves the bar where it goes. Last place I worked at in Florida, beautiful place called Captain Dave's on the Gulf. If you're ever in Destin, Florida, it is the best food in the oldest restaurant. Anyway, beautiful view. A younger couple comes in. They're seated at a table right by the windows looking at the Gulf of Mexico. It's beautiful. A server comes by and takes their drink order, and I see her bring them 2 glasses of water. It's the beginning of the day. They just opened the doors. It's 4 o'clock. I'm set up. I'm not doing much but watching TV and looking out, looking for dolphins anyway. So I'm kind of noticing these couples sitting there. Brings them some, see her take a food order. She walks away. The guy gets up, comes to the bar, pulls out his ID and orders 2 drinks. I know he's about to take it to the girl sitting at the table. So of course I say, look, I have to see your ID, but I'd have to see her ID as well. He goes into a screaming, and that's the way I said it, I swear. Oh, that's fine, but I would have to see her ID as well. And I pointed to her. He turns and looks, turns back, goes into a cursing tirade. Just F-bomb after F-bomb, cussing me out, runs down, grabs his girlfriend by the arm, drags her out of there, screaming and cussing at me. The owner of the restaurant just sees someone dragging his girlfriend out, screaming and cussing at me, and just goes, what the hell was that? Of course, the youngest generation of the family, the daughter was working at the hostess stand, who saw the whole thing and said what happened. And she's like, oh, well, good job. Keep doing your job. But, I knew it was very obvious. You sit down at that table, the server will bring you cocktails. You don't have to get up to the bar and get them. That's the way it works. So, just be aware of what's going on. And the other thing you're going to come across a lot of times, that kid was only 21 himself. So I don't know what he was trying to pull. But parents will buy drinks for their kids, and you still have to be aware of that. You still did serve that drink. And, if you have to go over and approach a party, once again, be nice about it, be cordial. I've had to do it tons of times. If you have a manager, get the manager, let the manager do it. That's their job. Your job is to stay behind the bar and make drinks. But in situations where I was the manager on duty and the bartender at the same time, I would have to go take care of it. I had a lot of times where younger folks will come up to the bar, say, okay, I need, they'll order 2 people will come up, they'll order 4 drinks, and I'll tell them, this is my line. I need to see 4 IDs and the people that go with them. Because sometimes people will go get other people's IDs and just bring the IDs back. No, I need the people. I need to see the people. I don't just need the IDs. Every once in a while, a younger couple will come up, order 4 drinks. Okay, I need to see 4 people and 4 IDs. And they'll say it's for my dad. And they'll point and someone will wave. Okay, he's old enough, never mind. But, sometimes I'll see parties and I know, that kid's probably 19, 20. One of the parents will come up, order a round of drinks, take it back, and just slip that Bud Light right in front of Junior. At what point, I just got to sit and wait till Junior puts his hand on it. And then I walk over and I nicely say, excuse me, sir, do you have your ID on you? I just need to make sure you're 21. He does not. I take the drink away. Now, when you go to take the drink away, someone inevitably is going to say, well, I'll drink it. Leave it. I'll drink it. No. You forfeited this drink the second you gave it to someone who's a minor, someone that doesn't have identification in my building. You forfeited the drink. You gave it away. So don't be afraid to do it. Most people take it pretty good. They are breaking the law. You can simply call the police. And I mentioned that last week. Don't ever do. I wouldn't. threaten to call the police on that one, but don't ever threaten to call the police if you're not really willing to do it. But, you know, just be careful. There's going to be a lot of people. They're going to be having a lot of fun. They're going to be enjoying the holidays. And, you know, people are still a little bent up from last year, not being able to do all the things that we like to do around the holidays. So just make sure we're being careful and make sure that everyone's got ID and we're not serving anyone underage. Everyone has a good time and doesn't get into any trouble. All right. So that's enough of that. Let's get into something funner, more lighthearted, talking about just thinking about different drinks to do today. There's one, the French 75, which I'll talk about a little. You know, it's in the bartending book. I think it's the first drink in our actual bartending guide for local bartending school. Place I talk about a lot here in San Luis Obispo, the Madonna Inn, which is very pink, uses a Brut Rosé Cava, which makes it a pink French 75, which gives it a nice little touch to it. But, you know, it's basically the recipe is not new. People putting citrus and sugar and you know, spirits together goes back to probably mid 1800s, if not earlier than that. I think even and prior to like Prohibition, where, you know, French 75 really came about, really got its prominence, people were putting champagne, sugar, and lemon juice into cups, calling it a champagne cup. I had another note that I'm listening here. Oh yeah, Charles Dickens mentions when he came to Boston in 1867 that he was served Tom Gin and Champagne Cup, which sounds eerily like kind of the same thing. Gin, a little lemon juice, you know, combined with that champagne cup, basically gives us our modern French 75. So the modern version came about in the 20s, came about during Prohibition, and kind of grew in popularity from there, like many, many drinks did. You know, the gin and the booze they were getting was so awful at the time that you had to mix it with different things to kind of make it palatable. So this is kind of how the drink came about. First appeared in books in the 20s and has kind of progressed and appeared in several books over the years. So your basic French 75 is just going to be fresh lemon juice, sugar, gin, and some sparkling wine. I'm going to do one a little differently here. You know, the early days, it could have been gin, or people also did it with brandy, did it with good cognac. So we're going to make kind of a little different version here. I'm going to go ahead and do this one on my mixing tin. I got my glass right there. So let me grab a spoonful of sugar here. Actually, no, we're going to do this differently. What we're going to do is grab our lemon, and I'm going to squeeze half a lemon in here. So we're going to do our fresh lemon juice. And remember, half a lemon, half a lime is about half an ounce. It's a pretty good way to measure it. So I've got it in there. Boom, got my half ounce of fresh lemon juice. Put that off to the side. Now, we regularly do sugar, but I'm going to do something a little different here. I've got some mango chunks here. Mangoes are very, very sweet fruit. It's going to give it a nice sweet flavor and a little bit of fruitiness. I'm going to put some of that in there like that. Let me see a little bit. Get a couple pieces in there like that. So I'm going to take my mallet. I'm going to give this a nice mash up. And I am going to mash it up kind of nice and good because I'm going to come back and double strain this out and get the big pieces out. So we want to mash it up and get some of that mango flavor into there. Nice and good. Just all right. So I've kind of made my own little mango puree here. Come back with some ice. And we're going to do 1.5 ounces of something that looks like gin. Remember, I'm just using water out here. I'm not using real booze. We're not going to waste that and throw that away. We're going to throw that in there. Go ahead and lock my thing in there. Give it a nice shake, get it nice mixed up. Boom, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with a double strain because I don't want any of those chunks of mango to go in there. But you can see it's got mango juice and the nice mango color to it. Just like that. All right. And then don't want to waste real champagne, but I do have some Martinelli's sparkling hard apple cider here, which will act as our champagne when we do it in here. And usually when I've got the sugar in there, it's going to make the champagne foam up extra foamy. You know, take your time. No one's in a hurry here to drink champagne cocktails. So I'm just going to gently pour in some sparkling right up to the top like that. And not foam it over. And you can see it's getting a little extra foamy. I did the little foam over and wipe that up. Thought it was perfect. We will finish it off here with a lemon twist like this. Get that around the rim there. Nice little squeeze on top. I'm going to take this. Let's see if I got a chunk of mango left to put in here. Container open. Take our lemon twist. We're going to put a nice piece of mango in the middle of it here. Fold it over the other side like that. Set that right there in the top. And we've got our mango French 75. So the French 75 is named, okay, I'm going to get this out in one breath. It is named for the French 75mm cannon that was integral in the Allied forces winning World War I. Okay, so that's the history of the name. It hits you like a cannon. That's kind of the idea. You know, it goes down really easy, just like a glass of champagne, but it does have a full shot of gin in there, so it does hit you hard. So kind of be careful, you know, when dealing with it, because it is a full shot and it will hit you very hard. While I've got the Martinellis open, and because I thought of this the other day and I just had to do it, French 75 is mentioned in a very old movie that I love and I think is one of the greatest movies ever. Even though I wasn't born in the 70s and it was made in the 40s, I love the movie Casablanca. I think it is amazing. I think it is fantastic. No big surprise. It revolves around a bar. So I always like that part of it, that aspect of it, because I love bars. Excuse me. But French 75 is mentioned in Casablanca as one of the drinks that someone orders. But when Victor Laszlo comes to Casablanca for the first time and he walks up to the bar, he orders a champagne cocktail. What is a champagne cocktail? Well, it's really easy to do in any bar. Just going to grab my handy dandy bar spoon over here. Going to take my sugar. I'm going to put a spoonful of sugar and a bar spoonful of sugar, a sugar cube, or a restaurant packet of sugar, about the same amount. You're going to get about the same there. And then all I'm going to do is take my bitters, a couple dashes of bitters in there into the sugar. Bam. Now I take my sparkling wine, my champagne, my cava, my prosecco, whatever I'm pouring. And even though this is not real champagne, just out of habit, I have the label facing the people I'm pouring for. And we're going to take our time because this is going to foam up really big like that last one did with the sugar. So we're going to take our time and just pour it gently to the top. See if I don't overflow it again. And it'll take a minute to foam down. In there, let that settle for a second, and that's it. I'm going to get my lemon twist ready because I know I'm going to put a lemon twist on here as well once it mellows just a second here. So you have your champagne cocktail then. If Victor Laszlo ever comes to your restaurant and wants a champagne cocktail, now everybody knows how to make it. Let's see if I can get this to settle down just a little more. Now we'll top it off with a little more of this Martinelli's. I will mention that in Casablanca, I believe they don't serve it in a flute glass. They serve it to them in kind of a coupe style champagne glass. But I'm not going to sit here and wait forever on this because it's going to take a minute to go down. We're going to give it a nice lemon twist. We're going to stick it in there. Bam. We're going to have our champagne cocktail. We're going to sit this over here with our French 75. Let's see what else I can do. I know I got some notes here, and I've still got a little bit of time. Let's do this one too, because this one has champagne in it on the champagne side of things. This is kind of a take, you know, a little similar to a lemon drop, which is a Stockholm 75. So of course, I don't have a chilled glass out here. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do here is chill my martini glass. Yeah, just like that. and set it off to the side here and let it sit and get cold. I'm gonna rinse these out really quick here. Make sure I don't have any mango chunks. Get into my new cocktail. Ah, there we go, we look good. So, you know, lemon drops, just sugar, lemon juice, and vodka. You know, we could use some, get the words out. We could use some citrus vodka, gives it a more of a lemon flavor, which is just fine. So I'm gonna throw my ice in here. I'm gonna go ahead and throw my spoonful of sugar in here. Yep, just like that. Once again, we're going to squeeze some fresh lemon juice in here with the other half of this lemon that I've got here, just like this guy. So we've got some fresh lemon juice in there. Now, I was taught to do it this way, and I've seen some people do it, putting a little orange liqueur in their Stockholms or a little orange liqueur in our lemon drops. Gives it a little orange flavor, a little more sweetness. I'm going to go ahead and do that there, put a ½ ounce of that. And then I'm going to do an ounce of what would be citrus vodka in there, just like that. All right, so we've got all our ingredients in here like this. Give it a nice shake, get that mixed up, give that sugar a chance to dissolve down in the drink, get mixed up, get everything diluted nicely. Nice ice crushed up in there. All right, I'm gonna throw out my water here, have my glass chilled. And what I want to do is give this a nice sugar rim. I'm gonna try not to drop it. A little bit of sugar there. Take my lemon. And a nice sugary rim like that. And take our lemon drop here that we're going to turn into a Stockholm. Get it out there. A little bit in there. And I'm going to come back here with my faux champagne, of course, my Martinellis once again. And I'm going to top it off with the Martinellis like that. Give it a nice little lemon wheel here. Bam. And we've got our Stockholm, or our Stockholm 75. Really easy to do. You know, if you've already got the champagne open, you're doing champagne drinks. Thought I'd throw that one in there too. And then while I was on the thought of French, I thought about a French martini. I've heard it a couple different ways, but this is always the way I learned to make a French martini. So we'll throw this out here and we'll give this one a go here as well. Once again, I'm going to chill my glass here because I don't have a cooler out here in the tiki bar or a freezer to keep my glass cold. I'll grab my mixing tin here. So French martini, first thing we want to start with is French vodka. So if you had some Grey Goose or Ciroc or something like that that you were working with, that's the best one to go with. Once again, it's not going to really matter because there's no actual alcohol out here. This is all just water. So I'm going to do 1.5 ounces here of my what would be Ciroc or Grey Goose, something like that. Then we're going to come back with a little raspberry liqueur. So French raspberry liqueur is Chambord. That's what you theoretically want to use. And I'm going to do about 3/4 ounce of that in there, just like that. Last thing we're going to put in is some pineapple juice. So I'm going to grab my pineapple juice here, and pineapple juice will settle, so make sure that you shake it up. We're going to throw a little bit of that in there, just like that. So I'm going to put just a little touch more pineapple juice in there. Perfect. All right, got my pint glass, lock it in, give it a nice shake. Make sure we get that nice and mixed up in there. Out, throw my ice away. And we have our French martini. A little vodka, a little raspberry, a little pineapple in there. A little more just like that. And we'll give it a nice cherry here to garnish it. Delicious, awesome, easy to make. Drop that guy in there just like that. Bam, and we've got our French martini to go with our French 75 and our Stockholm. And I'm going to put this one guy over here because I'm running out of room over here. So, see, we'll do one more. All right, we'll do one more to finish with here because I feel like doing one more. I'm going to give my equipment a nice little rinse over here again. Like Perfect. So if someone comes in and asks you if you can make a perfect Manhattan, they're not asking if you make the quintessential Manhattan, the greatest Manhattan of all time. All they're asking for is a Manhattan that has both sweet and dry vermouth in there. So we can do that really easy here. I'm going to take my mixing tin like this. I'm going to do this one with a little bit of a stir instead of shaking it, just to do something different. Perfect. So I want to do twice as much of the whiskey we're going to use here, my faux Jack Daniels. So I'm going to do 2 ounces here of my fake Jack Daniels in here like this. And then I'm going to come back with, this can also be my sweet vermouth. We're going to do 1 ounce of sweet vermouth here, just like that. All right. I'm going to throw a couple dashes of bitters in there. I think bitters goes good in there. And then what makes it the perfect Manhattan is that we're going to add some dry vermouth like we kind of got here. The important thing is it doesn't take a whole lot of dry vermouth in any drink. Just like our martini, we only need a couple drops to be in there. It's not going to take a whole lot. Bam, just like that, a couple drops in there. We're ready to go. We've got our dry vermouth added. We now have a perfect Manhattan as opposed to your regular Manhattan. And once again, if they're ordering a Rob Roy, that's just a Manhattan with Scotch. You can have, a perfect Rob Roy as well, if you wanted that as well. Give it a nice good stir, get that mixed up in there like that. I'm going to come back with a bucket glass and some fresh ice over here, just like that. Go ahead and strain my perfect Manhattan into my bucket glass. Get all that out there for them. Perfect. And give it a couple straws. We'll throw a nice cherry garnish in there, just like that. And we have our perfect Manhattan ready to go, ready to serve, right there for you. Are there any questions anybody has about anything we talked about or anything else today? Always a pleasure, always fun. Thank you, Monty, for showing up. Always a pleasure to have you. Next week, since it is, I hope I got my dates right, it is Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We'll talk about Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving cocktails and what did the pilgrims drink, and have some ideas. Maybe if you're having people over to your house, you're going to someone else's house for Thanksgiving, maybe give you some ideas as far as things to bring or things to make that you can have some fun with and have a good, fun holiday. Watch some football, enjoy some spirits, but not overdo it. Or if we do, please Lyft or Uber, be safe. There's no reason now for anyone to drink and drive. Okay. All right. So, okay, we're going to call it a day then. Thank you very much. Y'all have a safe week, and we will see you on next Wednesday. Thank you.